there you are. Welcome to the studio. So, if you see me, you know what happened. I wasn't able to do a good voice while I was painting my latest painting, and so I have to do kind of an introduction to the painting. Here it is. This is what we're going to do this time. This is the Narrows, again in Zion National Park, a beautiful place if you've never been there. Let's get right to it. I'm going to walk you through it this time. No music, just me and the paint. Let's get to it. I'll see you on the other side. Okay, so here we are tonight. I thought I would start by showing you how I'm going to draw this. And this drawing is taken from a picture in the Narrows that I took in one of my trips to Zion National Park. And I'm just quickly sketching it out. I'm starting with some trees in the foreground and the little creek that goes through. And I should say I'm using Strathmore 400 series multimedia paper. Not because I think the paper is all that for what I'm doing, but I happen to have several extra scraps of this paper lying around, and it's just about the right size. So I just thought I'd go ahead and use it. And here we go, just sketching both sides of the canyon wall. I'm using just a generic fountain pen here. It's clear, and what ink do I have in that? I've got Higgins brown calligraphy ink in it. There we go. One last little ridge on the mountain. Give it a little bit of depth. And the side of the hill, one last little bit where it meets the floor of the canyon. A couple of rocks here and there. And we're basically done drawing it. Oops, maybe a little tree there. Okay, so here we are. Same picture. There's my photograph, and I am using, just because it's handy and I like to use these little travel kits, I'm using my Prima watercolors, the Classics set. And in this painting, I am going to be using mostly the orange, the red, and some of the brown. Now, it's unfortunate that Prima does not give us a real color with their paints. They just give it to us by a number. I don't have the right number written down, but we can all see what the colors are. That probably is a Van Dyke brown. It's not quite a raw umber. It's a little darker than that, and the red is probably a wow, the name escapes me right now. But it's a red that we all have in our kit. The orange probably is a custom mix. I don't typically have an orange like this in my other kits, but we could always mix one. So there we go. I've just got some nice orangey brown rocks in the back. I'm going to drop a little bit of green in there to see some foliage on the rock face behind us. Nothing in any detail. Nothing that's going to be seen in the end product. Well, it's going to be seen, but nothing that's going to add to it other than a background. It's going to lighten up, and it'll fade away into the background. It'll just be a placeholder for us. So now what we want to do is we want to mix up a nice orangey red, orangey brown mixture, and we're going to use that to paint our canyon walls. All of the rocks here in this part of the country are tinted with red or orange. It must have quite a bit of iron in the rock to be that color. I'm just going very carefully along the top edge of it. We're just blocking in some color here. We're going to come back and put some detail on it and add some depth to it in just a little bit. So we're just blocking in some colors, and I'm just trying to stay out of the other shapes that are there. I don't want to go into the wet of the canyon wall behind that I just painted, and I don't want to go into the trees that I've yet to paint. So I'm just being a little bit careful there. But basically we're just blocking in some color, giving a little bit of texture and life to that rock face. And then we're going to come back to that. There we go. I'm going to take off just a little bit at the base. I want that to dry just a little bit lighter. So when I put a dark color in front of it, it'll stand out just a little bit more. Okay, so now I'm mixing a little bit of color for some trees. And the trees aren't really a green, bright green like you'd have, I don't know, in the upper Midwest or in the Northeast or something. It's a dull brown green. And so I've just mixed in my brown with my green there to dull that green color down. In this set, that green is a pretty bright green. And if I want to lighten the whole mixture, I'm just putting in a little bit of yellow in with that. And there we go. Just blocking in the color of the trees. And again, we're going to come back and we're going to put some more detail on these trees in just a little bit. At this point of the painting, like I said, it's just color. There we go. Just pull that right on down. And we're going to get all of the trees here. There we go. I know I have two trees there together and I've painted them as one. Let's not worry about it right now. We'll fix that after our paint has dried, and we're going to come back for our second coat. There we go. You can see I just mixed in just a little bit of the green, and it already has really greened our mixture up. Like I said, this green in this Prima kit is quite bright. We're going to use it to our advantage and paint the trees a little bit closer to us, a little bit brighter color green, a little bit more, what's the word I'm looking for? A little bit more intense color of green. That's what I'm trying to say. And now, it's not taking these paints very long to dry at all. I want to drop in some darker green. It's going to act as kind of a shadow color for us. There we go. And I want to do that before it dries all the way. I don't want to have too many hard lines in there, but a few are going to be all right. And there we go. We'll just drop that right in. And we're going to do the same thing here. Only with our tree in the background, if we kind of make an outline of the tree in front of us, it's going to give us a little differentiation between the two trees, and you can kind of see that right there. Then I'll change my green color just ever so slightly, and that becomes our shadow color on the front tree. And put that on just wherever you think there's a little bit of shadow on those branches. I don't know if there's a right way or a wrong way. It all seems pretty right to me. And there you go. You can already see that those trees that I've painted already look like they're standing a long way in front of that canyon wall. Okay, what I'm doing now is I'm going to darken a little bit of the canyon wall just behind those vertical lines that I had drawn. And it's going to act as though it's putting a little bit of it in shadow, and it's going to end up pushing the whole thing back. Each one of those lines, each one of these layers of paint that we're putting on, is going to add to the depth of this whole painting. And again, I'm just putting a little bit on and taking it off and blending out one side of it so that I don't have a hard edge. I only want a hard edge on part of it, on the front part of it. I ran out of color. I just need to mix a little bit more. It looks a little bright, but we'll work with it. We'll make it go. There we go. I'm just going to pull that all the way down. And already you can see it's starting to look like those rocks are layered up. Lots of layers there, just running all the way down. And it's pushing that further and further and further back. All those all those vertical lines, pushing those back, deeper into the painting for us. There we go, and one last one, way back there. Just like that. Okay. Now I need to make a bit of a darker mixture because I've got a rock wall on the right-hand side of this painting that we're probably going to need to tackle. And this side is quite a bit darker. The right side is quite a bit darker than the left. So I've just mixed my paints up a little bit darker. And you can see with that first stroke just how dark it is. I'm trying not to make it too thick, but make it dark. And with this set, that's a little bit hard to do. Maybe I should come back and put a second layer on before I do anything else. That probably would be the best thing to do. But I've got the paint here. It's already on the paper, and we're already working with it, so we will make it work. There we go. I'm just going to bring those colors all the way down, right to the water line, right to the little rocky beach that's there. I'm just going to paint that in. I should say I'm doing most of this. I think I've done all of it so far with my Princeton Neptune round brush. I think the size I'm using is a number 6 in this painting. There we go. I'm going to mix up a little bit of color here and use it for the beach. I want it to be just a little bit different color than the red rock on the wall. This dirt has constantly been wet. It's always a little bit damp down there, and so it's holding a little bit of moisture, and that's making it just a little bit of a different color. So there we go. I still want it to be red. I'm going to put some red tones in it. I don't want it to be too different, but I don't want it to be exactly the same. I want it to be just different enough so that when your eye sees it, it doesn't think that that hill or that rock face runs all the way down. Here we go. I just forgot a little bit of the rock face back there. Just filling that in. And I'm going to mix up a little bit of blue-gray here for my water. There we go. So again, it's unfortunate that Prima doesn't give us names for these. But I think I've got a little bit of what I would call cerulean blue in there. A little bit of the ultramarine, and I think I darken it down just a tad with the black that's in this kit. Here we go. And I'm doing everything with horizontal lines. I want the water to look like it's stacked up there, just kind of like the rock face. Horizontal lines will make it look like nice smooth water rolling straight down. Here we go. I need to turn this just for a second. This will help me put in my contour lines. There's one going on. There it is. And the same technique that I did on the first half, I'm going to do, or on the first half, on the left-hand side, I'm going to do on the right-hand side here. So these rocks do stack up just a little bit here. And so there we go. I should say that on this paper, in the environment I'm in, it dries incredibly quickly on the page. It will take no more than 2 or 3 minutes, and this paper will pretty much be bone dry. So for me painting this tonight, there's no need to use the hairdryer to dry this paper off. Excuse me, I just had to get a drink of water. There we go. Again, same technique, just like on the opposite bank. Just putting a little bit on and taking a little bit off. There we go. When it's right side up, you can see it just a little bit better. Got some nice big vertical striations. Gonna put a little bit of dark underneath some of these trees, maybe a little bit of shadow, just definitely a little bit of lack of sunlight, if not so much shadow, but just something to make them stand out a little bit. There we go. And along the shoreline, just a little bit. Good. Okay, I'm going to touch up the water just a little bit more. Maybe we got a couple of ripples on this water somewhere. Not too much, not too many. The real river that runs through here in a couple of places really has a couple of small rapids. I'm not painting them in that way. I'm painting in more of a lazy little creek meandering down between these two rock formations in this canyon. Okay, I'm switching to a slightly smaller brush so that we can put in a little bit of detail. I'm going to come into the rock wall. Haha, how do I do it? There we go. All of these rocks are sedimentary rocks, and they all have lines in them. There we go, and they're all out there for you to see, so we're going to add a whole bunch of those. I'm going to try to space these in no particular order so it doesn't look like it's hand painted, so it looks like it's the rocks themselves that are out there. I'm going to make some a little bit fatter, and I'm going to make some a little bit thinner. I might put some lines over top of other lines, but I just want to put a bunch of horizontal lines, maybe tilted a little bit. The rocks there actually don't push up in a straight fashion. They are a little tilted, but I'm going to put lots of these lines on there to give a lot of texture to these. And I'm basically starting at the outside edge of those and pulling it back in to the rock wall, and maybe not even quite that far. Just a little pressure here, a little pressure there. And there we go. And it's looking like some real rock there now. It's getting there. Here I'm doing it very lightly. All right, adding a little bit more water. Good, good, good. And what's on one side has got to be mirrored with on the other side. So I'm just going to do that. Drop some of these on here. There we go. It's giving us some good texture. It's giving us a lot of definition in these rocks. You see some are straight lines that I draw. Some are a little crooked. Some are jagged. Some are waggly. I don't even know if that's a word. But it's just putting some lines on there to add some texture and definition to these rocks. Boom. And now I'm doing really light little lines. There we go. Good, good, good. Look at that. It looks fantastic. All right. Just about done with that. Just about. There we go. And if you're doing this at home and you didn't want to use our rock color that we're using, you could mix in some blue with it. You could mix in some purple with it, make it look like it's a bigger crevice or a bigger crack in there. All right, what I'm going to do is just sprinkle a little bit of water, tap it get the water, a little bit of paint on the end of my brush, tap it, flick it on there, and get a little bit of texture on the beach. There we go. A couple of extra lines in here to show the water. Not too many, again, like I said, but they faded a little bit, so I want to put a couple of them in there just to show the water lazily walking down this little river. I sprinkled a little bit of our background there. And there you go. There's our picture. We're all done. Let's see, I could get a frame and put on here. If you don't ever do that, you should find yourself an old frame or some old matting and see what it looks if the picture were to be framed up. Here's one I have, just cut kind of to a 5x7 size, and we could see what it would look like however I wanted to put that in. That's not a bad little painting. I think with that, I'm going to sign it. If my pen will work. Let's see. Scribble there. Nope. Maybe not. Let's see. Second time worked. Second time worked. So there it is. There's our painting of the Narrows in Zion National Park. Okay, so there you are. We just painted a beautiful painting of Zion National Park at the Narrows. I hope you enjoyed it. I enjoyed having you here. I hope you come back and visit me in the studio again. If you liked the video, hit the like button down there somewhere and subscribe to my channel. It will ensure you're going to get a message that tells you each time I post a video. I look forward to seeing you next time. Till then, bye-bye.